All right, what is up, STB Locker Room? This is Coach Todd coming to you live here, Monday night live stream training. It is cold here in Nebraska. Still gonna warm up tomorrow, and then have another snowstorm on Thursday. So it's May, May. It's March 13th, 2023. We're coming to the midway point of March, and once March is done, we're through the first quarter. That's kind of crazy to me. But hey, let us know you're on here. Say hi. What's up? Let us know that you're watching. And tonight, I do got Coach Denny with me. He's just finishing up a job, so he's going to be up. What's up, Kevin? He's going to be driving, so we might not get any video from him, but he's going to jump in. We're gonna just kind of create this segment. We're going to run it for a couple weeks until we kind of hit everything we want to hit on the topic of how to unlock your greatness, right? So I believe, firmly believe, uh, everybody, what is up? Um, but we're all, we all have greatness in us, right? Now, some of us have greatness in music. Some of us have greatness in art. Some of us have greatness in sport. Some of us have greatness in being a son, being a father, that kind of stuff. And so what I want to do is challenge you to unlock your potential, your greatness, and that's really everything we talk about inside of the STB locker room. The Go All Pro mantra inside of our VIP program is how do we just keep progressing, right? I feel for a lot of years that I spent just existing, right? Just trying to get through the day, um, just trying to show up in a way that I could provide. I never really, besides playing football, I never really felt like I had this huge, greatness inside of me. But through the years of, just diving deep inside of myself and reading books and listening to books and going to, coaches, different things, really found, that we all have this potential in us, no matter what it may be. It's there. Uh, Pick things up and put them down. Yes, love it. Uh, Hopefully, heavy things. Pick up heavy things and put them down. Um, that's a one that I enjoy doing, or at least used to before the back and the knee. Still try to do that, but we as a whole men lately, especially, and Denny may agree with me on this and not, but like we've been kind of like you know especially like the alpha male, right? Like we've been ridiculed and like, but that's what we need. Like without any conflict there is no basically progression, right? Um so just want to talk a little bit about tonight, uh kind of my first step to finding my greatness and what that took. And I think Denny will agree with me when I bring him on. But for me, one of my mentors taught me to live by a code, and we talk about the code here and there inside of our free group here. Inside of our VIP, we very seriously live by that code, right? And a lot of people are like, why do I need to live by a code, right? And I think for me, I didn't live by a code. I lived by the seat of my pants for so long. And it wasn't until this idea of a code, right? Now, when I was in sports, we not necessarily lived by code, but we had our like our coach said, do this, do that, do that. And we lived by it, right? You either bought in, you were a teammate that bought in, or you're a teammate that didn't buy in, right? So I think I had some of that. And then obviously when you leave sports, whether that's high school, whether that's junior high, whether that's college, whether that's you're a professional athlete and you leave, um, you're kind of put out on an island. on your own, right? So um, that's when things get a little confusing, and it definitely did for me. In my story of 20 years of basically existing, right? Existing to you know barely skim by, and not really attain much of anything, just running by the seat of my pants. So living by a code is definitely going to help you unlock your greatness. Now, the code we live by and the code that I've adopted, and a lot of our VIP clients, is pretty simple: do the work, win the day, be relentless. um, to dive a little deeper in that, do the work, right? So if you want to accomplish anything, it takes action, right? You can dream all you want, right? You can have all the dreams in the world that you want to accomplish this and that, but until you actually start doing something to get you closer to that goal, you know it's, well, I should say, it's just a dream in at that point, right? uh your vision without action is a dream. So and then on the other side of do the work is like, okay, so I'm doing the work, doing the work, doing the work, but you know action without vision becomes a nightmare. And that's what I spent 20 years in. Like, just doing action, I was going to work, I was exercising, I was doing that, but it was a nightmare, right? Like, because there was no vision behind my action, right? I was just existing. So do the work isn't just like, okay, I'm going to get up, I'm going to do this, like, it's, are you following a proven success plan? Like, success leaves clues. Success, there are certain things, if you want to build muscle, you have to do, right? The people that have done it can tell you exactly the steps to do it. If you want to lose weight, there's certain things you have to follow, and it's super simple but hard, right? So do the work, and once again, do the work in a way that you know the action is going towards your vision, right? And your vision, you're taking action behind, so that you're not just dreaming and you're not in a nightmare, but you're actually progressing every single day. Now, that vision, those goals, the work you're doing will take usually 10 times longer than you think it will. Okay. So, and that's where the discipline comes in. That's where the never give up uh, attitude comes in. And so the second win the day, pretty simple there. Like, make a list of the things you need to accomplish on a daily basis at the smallest level. If that's wake up early, uh, 30 minutes early, so that you can get a 20-minute training session in, then that's, can you check that off every day, right? If that's drinking enough water, eating enough protein, taking all your supplements, and we're talking about like, can you win the day? And if you have more positive, so drink all your water, that's a plus, right? Don't take don't train, that's a negative. They cross each other out, and at the end of the day, is there more positive than negative, right? Did I eat healthy, right? Did I eat mostly things you can that are non-processed, right? So creating those lists when it comes to weight loss, fitness, that kind of stuff, and it works for your business as well, or your work as well, or your relationships as well. It's not just one-sided to fitness. So win the day. Like, can you win more days than you lose, right? And if you lose a day, can you get back up the next day and create that discipline inside of you to be able to, you know, move on and get back on the winning side of things, right? Um, I was lucky to be on some pretty cool football teams. I think I lost 6 or 7 football games from junior high through college, state championship, 2 national championships, but we lost. And when we lost, it was a big deal to beat any of our teams that I played on, for any of the teams that beat us. And so I think, you know, losses you learn, right? We learned a really big lesson my junior year in the state championship game when we lost. We were highly favored. We got our butts kicked. And I'll tell you what, we learned from that in the next year. We took no prisoners, but sometimes you feel like you're losing every single day. And right. So then you just got to pick out, okay, what's the number one highest priority thing that I need to do. And sometimes that's why you need a coach. Like, what's the number one thing that I need to get back on track to start winning again, right? So win the day. That's the second part, right? And the third is just be relentless, right? If you want something, go after it relentlessly. Um, I can say, you know, my my wanting to play college football at the University of Nebraska, be a Cornhusker, and all you Ohio guys I know be like, oh, why would you want to play there? Uh, but back when back when I grew up, man, that was the place to be, right? And obviously growing up in Nebraska, and so I went after it relentlessly. People told me I couldn't do it. People told me I was too small. People told me I wasn't fast enough. I just kept showing up and doing the work and winning days, and I stayed relentless. So I was following this code up until college, to be real honest. I got to college and I'll just be real honest, like it there was no code in college. I was having fun. It was a riot. If I could go back and change it, I would, but I can't. So we move on and I learn from it, right? So, just being relentless. And once again, what a code does is actually sets up basically what you say yes to and what you say no to. And a lot of us guys, and I know I was this way for 20 plus years, I mean, I try to do it all, right? I try to, like, when I learned to just finally lock in on, is this going to get me closer to my goal or further away from my goal? Is this going to help my vision, not help my vision? That makes decisions easier. We make thousands and thousands of decisions every day, and most of the time on impulse, most of the time on emotion. But when you actually live by a code, you can make those decisions based off of fact. Will this get me closer to my goal or further away? Right. So I think that's a huge part of unlocking your greatness is literally say you don't have to live by my code, but create your own code, right? If you want, adopt our code. Awesome. It works. I know it works. It's worked for me. It's worked for lots of guys inside of our program. But without a code, you're literally just kind of aimlessly wandering around this world, this world, and saying yes to things you should be saying no to, saying no to things you should be saying yes to, taking on work that you shouldn't be taking on, but you can't say no because you're not living by a code, right? So I'm gonna bring Denny in. Denny, you ready? Give me a thumbs up. I do see some video down there. What up? You're muted. There we go. What's up, coach?
Hey, let me turn this heater down here real quick. How you doing? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you good.
Great, great.
So I know you're driving, so be careful.
Yeah, watch the road.
Yeah. So, this whole series that we're going to do on, how to unlock your greatness. Hopefully you will be able to listen to that. I think you were, but we're talking about kind of key number one, living by code, right? So how can you, you know, is there some examples you can give to how it's helped unlock your greatness since we started doing this, year and a half ago?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, just just like yourself and these deer that are crossing the road. So that was interesting. But just like yourself, and myself, and I'm sure maybe a few of the guys in the room can relate. I I'm not infallible. You know, 20 years ago, I wasn't the guy I am today. 3 years ago, 1 year ago, hopefully yesterday, I'm not. Hopefully I'm still progressing, at such a fast rate. But ultimately, you can look back and you're a culmination of those decisions. And when you're living by the code, you're producing maximum results and failures. So I guess one thing I can say for somebody is like, I always try and put my mind in the guy who's like, man, maybe there's something in this. Maybe I've seen what Coach Denny's done. I've seen what Coach Jay has done, and Coach Todd, and Coach Caleb, and Coach Tom. I've seen some of these VIPs crushing it. Maybe 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 I want to do a few of these things, right? And so I was trying to put myself in the mind of somebody who's where we were in the past, you know. And my thought process is the number one thing you want to do if you're going to live by the code and if you're writing something down, you need to be your authentic self. And what does that mean? It means you have to take accountability for your actions. You have to write down things that you know that are going to take you towards your goals. And you have to put those in places that are in front of you. You know, your mind's going to start wrapping around those things. You have to put those in the forefront. And not today. I don't want to dig too deep into it, but one of our next Mondays that we'll have, we're going to talk a little bit more on, you know, because we're a lot of athletes here, more on why athletes have problems and dips after they've attained success. Coach Todd, you know, shares about, you know, the college. Well, his main goal was to play at Nebraska, and damn it, he did it. You know, but then what, right? There's a reason why. And we'll go over these things. Olympic athletes, they've achieved their highest regard. They've gotten that medal. They've worked 8 years to be in Beijing, and they finally won. They upended. They were, you know, you got to be an underdog, and you got to make yourself the underdog, whether you are or you're not, in order to accomplish these things. So when these guys upend these things and they do that, there's an extremely high success rate in the past of suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not something you would think of, right? Man, no, this guy's got it all. He's crushing it. He's fucking in the head, right? Because now what?
How about just a real quick, the COVID commercial right now? I've seen it a couple times, and Michael Phelps is on there. I mean, the most decorated Olympic athlete in history, and saying, "I have depression." Like, you know, as a guy sitting out here, you'd be like, "How's this guy got depression? He's got 1,000 gold Olympic medals. He's accomplished so much." But like you said, at the end of that, you know, there the vision was accomplished, but there's no what's next. Is definitely what happened to me when I got to
Right.
college. It was like I made it, but what, you know, I didn't set that next goal, right? And that's where you see the difference of greatness, is being able to always set another target, right? And obviously, Michael Phelps has accomplished something nobody else has ever accomplished. But you know, I think that's why Michael Jordan went to baseball, right? He's like, well, I just won all these NBA championships. Now I want to accomplish something else, right? So, yeah, definitely plays with the psyche, right?
So what we're gonna do, we'll do a whole night on this because it's very important and it is kind of the end game. But one thing I can tell you, if you're writing some things down, if you're digging in a little bit and you're trying to figure out a little bit more, what you need to do is give yourself a little grace. Okay? I personally struggle 100% with, am I enough? It doesn't matter how accomplished I am. I always struggle with, am I enough? You know, Ed Millett, you know, he struggles with, am I enough? This guy's written so many books. He's helped hundreds of millions of people. He's worth probably hundreds of millions. I guarantee he's got at least 50 million. But, you know, Ed struggles with this. So it's one of the big three, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these are things that we're gonna dive into. You know, you can deal with, and we're gonna help you through it. You know, you're not alone. You're not the only person. You know, but a lot of times you feel that way, right?
Yeah.
For me, my personal story. I always kind of felt like, you know, I've always been told that I'm not supposed to make it. I'm not supposed to be a good this. I'm not supposed to be a good that. Just because in the past I've been patterned off of my predecessor. which would be my father, right? And nobody's situation is the same, but that self-doubt can creep in, especially when you don't have the tools and mentors around you as a child, and make you think, maybe I am one of these things. Maybe I am not good enough, So every time I'd have success, you ever see a guy win a World Series? You ever see a guy that they're cutting down the nets? The whole team's cutting down the nets. I pick basketball because they're going through sectionals. Look at some of the teammates. If one of the teammates is just kind of hanging out and not really talking, that's the guy who needs talking to, because he just won it all, and now he's got this feeling of, I don't know. Well, was it all worth it? Did we get far enough? Did I do enough? And yes, you did do enough. So just I don't want to dig too deep in it. Coach Todd, you can run back with it, but we will. Anybody who feels like that, trust us. Stay tuned. Next few weeks, we'll get that problem solved for you.
Yeah. So, whether you've heard about living by a code or not, it's definitely, in my opinion, it was my first step to unlocking greatness. Am I great right now? I'm on my way, right? Like it's a daily day, every single day chasing it, right? I'd rather be chasing greatness than settling for mediocrity, right?
And I got
Um,
to tell you, they all add with action. And I know we've said this 1,000 times, but it's always action. What was that famous quote by the Chinese proverb? What's the
yep.
number one thing you can do in life? And this is from the guy who owns Virgin Records. He owns like 400 companies. I think his name's like Charles Bronson or something like that.
Richard Branson. Yeah.
Thank you, Richard
Yeah.
Branson. Richard Branson got it all. He's got everything you can think of. And the number one thing he said that helped him build his business, Coach Todd?
Yeah. Is exercise, right?
Who would have thought?
Right. Because and he quotes, if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of your business, right? So one reason we always start with fitness inside this group, right? We definitely have, we believe that if you can take care of your body, you can show up in a way, um, 10 times better inside of your family, inside of your business, inside of your faith, um, that kind of
All
stuff,
those pillars.
right?
You
So
make them
it's
strong.
definitely starts with your exercise. And once again, it doesn't have to be 2 hours a day. It just has to be consistent. And honestly, like for me, I tried every single thing out there for 6 weeks and then I'd stop. 6 weeks and then I'd stop, right? It's finding that consistent plan, being held accountable, and once again, nobody ever achieves greatness on their own, ever. Think about it. Like,
Yeah.
even the greatest baseball pitchers, they had great defenses behind them, right? They didn't strike every single batter out, right? The greatest football players you got, Bo Jackson's one of my favorite. He was a great running back. He wouldn't have had anywhere to run without a good offensive line, right? Would have never had the ball. Like, they would have never won any games if they didn't have a good defense, right? So it can really relate that to sport, but it's no different in business. I don't think there's like Elon Musk is, I believe, the richest guy on the planet, but he's not the one building the Teslas, right? Like, right? He's not in the factory turning a wrench making Teslas, right? He's not. So nobody achieves greatness on their own. And I think that's one thing as guys we struggle with, right? It's number one, asking for help, right? Like, it's one of the hardest things we can do as a guy, I believe, is ask for help, right? Like, they make commercials about it, back before, navigation on your phone, right? You had maps, and if you were lost, you know, the wife would be like, "Hey, just stop at the gas station, we'll ask somebody." And oh, no way. Like, I'll find it, and 2 hours later, you're still not there, right? So guys have a hard time asking for help. And I think that's because it 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 shows vulnerability, right? And as an alpha male, you wouldn't think that you want to, like, but the best alpha males show all their vulnerability. They're an open book, right? I believe I'm as close. Like if you call me or reach out to me or talk to me, like I'm an open book. I'm going to tell you straight up how I see it, how I feel, the things I went through, and there's not going to be any BS. And I asked for help, and I spent 20 years not asking for help, and it was just a karma cul-de-sac, up and down, in the same little, like I was the mouse in the wheel, just running, in the same place over and over, right? It wasn't until I actually was able to say, "Hey, I need help. I need a coach. I need a mentor." And my best accomplishments to date were I always had a coach, right? I didn't win a state championship in high school football without a coach and teammates. I wasn't on national championship teams in college without coaches and teammates, right? I didn't do it myself, but I got to be part of that. And that was awesome. That's an awesome feeling. And so I think we'll end on that. It's been 26 minutes. We try to keep these around 20 or 30 minutes, but this how to unlock your greatness. We're going to spend some valuable time on this. And number one, living by code, right? So once again, whether that's the code that I've established for myself, our clients, do the work, win the day, be relentless. You see me post it a lot if you follow my posts. Um, you know, it just works. And that is how you set yourself up to get better every single day. You're not going to achieve greatness overnight. Never happens to anybody. Anybody that thinks there's such thing as overnight success is fooled. There's years of work behind that, doing the little things, right? Not chasing the next flat, shiny object, all that stuff. They stick down. There's core principles you need to follow. Whether that's in your fitness, in your finances, in your family, in your faith, like there's core principles that you need to follow, and most people just don't. They're in that hamster wheel chasing the next, shiny object. So that's what I got. You got to want to add anything, Denny?
Let me see here. The only thing I can say is next week. Okay, so we talked about live by the code, right?
Mhm.
That's what you got to do. So I gotta feel like there's a few guys in this group, Coach Todd, who are going to be like, I want to live by the code, but they're also like, I also don't know how. All
Mhm.
right, so next week, what we're going to dive into, we're going to talk about the three main reasons that's going to hold you back, and it's the three greatest fears: the fear of failure, the fear of success, which we actually touched on just briefly, and then the fear of judgment. I
Mhm.
guarantee you, every one of you men, with your shortcomings fall in one of those three categories.
Yep,
All right,
for
we're gonna
sure.
get everything squared away.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you joining us, Denny. Thanks for the guys that got on. If you're watching this on a replay, make sure you say what's up. If you enjoyed this, make sure you tag a buddy in the group or something like that. If there's something you personally enjoyed, and we're going to keep rocking, and we're going to have a great week. Get out there, crush it, do the work, win the day, be relentless. God bless. Much love. Peace out.